live. Excellent. All right, they're already rolling in. Hello, folks. Welcome back. I've lost myself here in the chat. Let us know where you're coming from. There it is. I know how to use Zoom, everybody. Trust me. Not some days. Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully everyone's well. Let us know where you're coming from today. It's beautiful, sunny, and warm. Warm-ish for Canada. It's warm-ish, but it's getting there. We're getting there. Hello, I see Morrisburg. I saw New Jersey, Virginia. Welcome back, everyone. Happy Thursday. I can't believe it's the last Thursday of February. This is wild. I don't know where this week went to. Hello, Indiana. Six Nations. Hello, hello. See a great crew rolling in already. This is fantastic. Hello, New York City. Brooklyn, you're down by my brother-in-law there. Here, maybe I'll bring this on over here just so I'm looking at you guys. Hope everyone is well, doing good. It's, you know, we've made it. It's almost the end of another week. I wanted to say for those folks who have been giving us great feedback in our feedback surveys we've been sending out. I have seen it. I have read it. I have enjoyed every bit of it. Kai has just posted our Facebook group in the chat, folks. So if you haven't joined us, please do. Just remember that you need to make sure that you answer all the questions there for us. That's important. It's just there to keep the community safe. Hello, Indonesia, Hampton, Virginia, North Carolina, Los Angeles. Welcome, everyone. 2 or 3 minutes here, and then we're going to get settled and get going. I'm super excited to be talking a little bit more about going digital. I know many centers have done this already in the past. In some of those many centers have done this because of COVID. Just in general, I'm excited to just talk a little bit more about how HiMama can help you out with that. As well as we're bringing back Amanda. Super excited to have Amanda with us. If you didn't get a chance to see her last webinar, we had her on with Cindy. Oh, I've forgotten the date now, but not too long ago. And Kai's as well. She just posted the survey there if you want to leave us some feedback. And as well, before we do get started here today, if you need closed captions, please put them on. They should be available for you to add that, and you should be able to see that happening if you need them. Snow is melting. I know. We had Lake Ontario was completely frozen, and now it's just slowly receding the ice, obviously. Also not safe. Please don't go on the ice, anybody. And reminder, as always, the session is recorded. We will be sending out, so if you do have to leave, I'm sorry you may have to go, but we understand that life happens. But it is being recorded. We are going to send it out with the show notes tomorrow, along with the certificate and the slides, so don't worry there today. Minute or two more. Let us know, folks, where you're coming from if you're just joining us. Excited to have another Thursday session. When I was reading some of the feedback we got, a therapy Thursday was the words used quite frequently. So thank you for that. Very excited, as well as the content requests from you folks. We're trying our best to make sure we cover as much of it. It's a pretty broad range, obviously, but making sure to get some more information out that you're looking for, obviously. So very excited to have all here. Hello there. Hello, I saw my name quickly appear in the chat. Welcome, everybody. Maryland, as well, if you're looking at, hello, Fort Worth. Hopefully, Texas, a couple of people here from Texas. I hope everyone down there is doing okay and starting to recover from the craziness that's happened out your way. Like, what the heck happened there? Hello, Winnipeg. All right, 1 more minute. Then we're going to get started. I feel like everyone's really starting to roll in now. PA. Hello, Massachusetts. I was saying before here, folks, Kaya had posted, if you do scroll back a little bit in the chat, and maybe she could repost it if you're if you're wanting to learn a little more about HiMama, then please do check us out online. Kaya, maybe you can just repost that link again for us there. There she goes. You can learn a little bit more. Tanya, it was incredible. Oh, snow for you guys is very much a rarity. Other places as well, I was seeing around the world, other places were getting snow. That's just not not frequent. Whereas for us, we're like, yeah, this is February. But when you're not used to it, you're not used to resources, all of that. I'm sure, a snowplow is maybe not a common thing down in Texas at all. So, all right, folks, please keep settling in. We're going to get started here today. Bit more from myself, and then we're going to bring on Amanda in a little bit here. But just wanted to remind everyone, if you're just joining, so there's a couple of things here. We're always making sure that you guys are getting the most relevant content, that you guys are getting things that are going to stir up some great conversation. But just a big reminder that I am not the face of legal or financial advice, nor do you want me to be. So at the end of the day, please make sure that you're consulting the proper people, whether that be a licensing rep or a financial advisor or legal advisor, whoever it is you need to, for whatever purposes. Please make sure that you are doing so. And if you're looking for any points of reference or anything, please don't be shy to reach out to myself or Kaya even, or post in our Facebook group if you're part of our Facebook group. Okay. Very much so. Excited, but the housekeeping rules, I'm going to add this for make sure we move forward, but if you want to have some closed captions on, you have the option on your side there to turn them on. The session is recorded, the full session. Folks, we've had some ongoing things with their certificates. We will be making them available here this little bit later in the chat. If you're not able to get it in the chat, because I know it hasn't been showing up for a couple of people, do not worry. It is coming out as a link in the show note recording tomorrow. Okay, so if you don't get it here today, please don't worry. Okay, show notes, everything, links, anything we're talking about today, it's all going to be included in the show notes. So please don't be shy. The last place you can find their certificate as well is in the show notes blog post, folks. Try to make it available for widely available for everybody. And last but not least, if you're having trouble, sadly, I am not the best support. Please do seek support at zoom.us if you're having trouble with Zoom itself. They're the best people and they know their program the best, and especially if you're having some connection issues, okay? Next up, myself and Kaya here. So if you've never been with us, if this is your first webinar, my name is Bria. I am one of the early childhood educators here at HiMama. I am a community ambassador, and I've been with HiMama for just about 3 years, yeah. And I finally remembered a fun fact, Kaya. If you haven't been in any of our earlier webinars, I'm going to share a couple of older tidbits from myself. But on the side, during the summer, pre-COVID, post-COVID life, when it finally does get around, I do like to reenact a little bit. So I do some reenacting with my brother, my dad, and a group of old high school friends. And it's a lot of fun. And it's just a great time to you kind of pretend you're in a bit of a different space, and we do War of 1812 reenacting. So that's just a little tidbit about me. Kaya is my colleague. She's on chat. Kaya, come on in here. You had such a great comment from last week about passing it forward. Do you got any tidbits for us today?
Oh gosh, no formal tidbits or words of advice from me this week. Hey everyone. I actually had a fun fact because you brought up going skating on the ice. And last weekend when it was still really cold out, I went ice skating I tried to go ice skating on Lake Ontario. It was really smooth and calm and super cold and frozen apparently a couple weeks ago, but we got like 2 feet of snow, and I don't own a shovel because I live in a condo, so the whole ice skating thing didn't work out, and it was really bumpy on the ice. But it was still really nice to get out of the core of the city and go to the Toronto Island. So that was my fun adventure of 2021, and probably will be the only adventure of 2021. So it was really great. But that was my little tidbit, and I will see everyone on chat.
Kaya is here to help you folks. So if you do need any support in regards to links or anything like that, Kaya is the one who's keeping them going in the chat. She also gets all those great questions over to me. Before we continue on, if you want to learn a little bit more about HiMama, please do, and I'll get Kaya to post this once again in the chat. Please do check us out, HiMama.com. You can also do a bit of a tour with us if you're looking at getting a little bit even more information about us. I highly recommend you have a chat with a couple of the great representatives that we have on the HiMama team. So Next up, we're going to bring her on in a little bit, but we have Amanda joining us back from Pocket Full of Posies. I'm super excited to chat with her. We had her on back and talking a little bit more about leadership skills during COVID-19 at the time. And she's going to be talking a little bit about, why she went paperless at her center and what kind of prompted all of that and her experience of it all. And she's bringing some great feedback from some of her teachers as well. So I'm super excited to be chatting further with Amanda. But let's dive into the thick of it here, folks. So we have a couple of key takeaways for you today. We're going to talk a little bit more about, why go digital. I know some of us have never even thought about going digital and how easy it actually is. Here at HiMama, it's definitely a big goal for us to always make sure that that transition is smooth for you, because we know that transition is not easy. It's not easy on a child. It's not easy on an adult. So we want to give you some pretty easy steps that you can go. We're calling those the 8 easy steps to go digital. And then we're going to talk with Amanda. Of course, that's the key here today. And we want to make sure that we spend the most time. So I'm going to dive in. So why? Why go digital? And if you have gone digital, I'd love to hear your story. Pop it in the chat. Kyle will grab it as well. But let us know if you decided to go digital at your center. I'd love to hear your story, or please share with us on our Facebook group. So we did a survey not too long ago here at HiMama. It was last year, so it's not too old. Susan, I see you're considering going digital. It's it's something that's totally it's at front of mind now. I feel like for a lot of centers. So we did a little survey, and we're looking at rough average center sizes. So we found out that around a 60 child center, which can be big for some people, can be small, just depending on where you are. But we found out that their spend on documentation, so of course that's all your paper spend, was around $30,000 a year. And this like blew me out of the water. I thought this fact was just wild. So a couple of those key takeaways that we learned is, we obviously, when we did this survey, we wanted to learn a lot more about how much time teachers do spend. And of course that's anywhere from 45 minutes to 90 minutes a day on documentation. It's very important documentation, might I add. This, of course, is still based off of our around that 60 center child center. But then we also found that, ink, man, replacing cartridges, ink is just unreal when it comes to expenses. So, a center is approximately spending around $1,800 on ink alone. And, and so really you're thinking, if you do dive in and actually break it down for the math, it's around, 3 to 12 cents per page that you're spending. So if you're printing quite a bit, that adds up. That's wild. Not to mention all those trees. So why go digital? Well, we know a couple of the great key reasons to go digital is, and we're just going to set COVID aside, just kind of forget about it for a couple of minutes. But getting more organized, some people find that it's, being able to organize things a little bit digitally can tend to make that documentation and time spent on it. Obviously, it's all kept in one place, but it makes it just a lot easier for you to stay organized because you have those places that you're going. Paperwork is pricey, and trees take a long time to grow, folks. Try and go a little green, but paperwork adds up alongside that ink. The other piece too is the way that internet is these days, the accessibility. And this is where we can turn around and chat a little bit to COVID. Some centers, I know parents are allowed back in, many centers you're not allowed back in. And it's there more as an access point for that, that important information and what's happening within the center, especially if you are fully closed up to parents right now, which I know many of you are at. The other key point that I wanted to make about going digital is that it allows for more accountability. And that's not just on the parent side, it's also on your own side. It allows for accountability between the two, and especially making sure that communication is going and you're in the right places, right state of mind, and making sure that that you are following up on things that you potentially said. Had a chance to look back in the chat. A couple of people here, they're looking at going digital. Some have gone. It's wild to think that, and I mean gone digital, by the way, folks, not gone. It's wild to think just how much you do spend on paper and ink, especially on those important pieces, right? So a couple other key one, and I'm going to pick on Alberta a little bit right here, but in some cases, regulations have changed. So Alberta has just launched and gone live with Bill 39, and you guys were allowed to be digital, but there was some key pieces around it that kept paper flowing for you guys. And so I just wanted to point out, it's a piece now that they're allowed to have digital record keeping, and that's huge. because you have to keep things for a long period of time, and it's important to keep these things for those periods of time. But allowing for centers to have a place digitally to store it, you don't have to worry about the physical space anymore. So regulations are a key thing now. So maybe to check into, if you've never really dove into it and you're considering it, making sure that you do follow everything. And many centers use HiMama and do take some printable copies as well. So it just depends on where you are too. So make sure that you're accounting for all of that. And as well, I'm just going to point out, we're talking to Alberta on Tuesday. So for those folks who are potentially here from Alberta, we're specifically going to dive into Bill 39. We're going to be talking around 1 p.m. Mountain Time for you folks. So if you're in Alberta, Kaya is going to post the link for Alberta's webinar specifically. I'd love for you to join us. I'm going to be taking some key takeaways from today, or we're going to talk a little bit more through as well. So let's talk about going paperless, those 8 easy steps. You're like, Rhea, it can't be 8 easy steps. This is to get you started, folks, not to really dive you in and say 8 steps to go from paper to digital, but I won't lie, it's not as difficult as you think it is. But let's talk a little bit about what you need to do to prepare yourself to go digital. So, and the key one to start here is to know what information you want to go digital. So that you could want to go all in, you could just want to start small. So, but this has a huge impact on what you decide to choose. So think about those things, whether that is those daily reports, pictures, assessments, menus, invoicing with your families, if you want to go completely digital on payments, whatever it is, find out your priority, whether that's yourself, maybe have a great conversation with all your teachers. What's 1 thing or 2 things that if they could go digital on and you want to make that happen for them, what's on their wish list? Because those pieces will be another big key. Then from there, dive into your day-to-day operations. What's something that, would take a little bit off yourself if you're not having to potentially write it out, and find a better process for yourself. So I do highly recommend taking the time to diving into your day-to-day operations and then taking that and creating a framework around those things that you do want to go digital, those must-haves, those nice-to-haves, those, we're good to just kind of keep going. Okay, that's super, super important. The next one, and you really probably already have this, I hope you do, but making sure that you do have all the up-to-date information for your family. So that be their phone number, which I'm sure these days is pretty up-to-date no matter what. Generally you have to have it legally anyways. And of course, an email. That's a key piece. Having a working email for a parent is super key when you're going digital, because that's how you generally get them into a program. In our case with HiMama, that's how you invite families into a program. So you don't want to be maybe trying to collect all of those things when you're super gung-ho and ready to launch. Have them in advance. This way everything's good to go. And then you can just update as needed. Choosing that specific app. Of course, we're going to be a little bit biased here today. We would love to have you here at HiMama and be a part of the HiMama family. Okay, we have a lot around parent communication and activity planning, and we want to make sure that we're making your lives better. But shop around a little bit. Make sure it's making your requirements, that your needs list. All right, and to know that here at HiMama, especially too, we do have our full support team here to help you out, no matter what. We're here to help you. Obviously, maybe not at 2 a.m. I'm not going to recommend that one, but we're here to help you out. So this makes sure that you're getting someone there to help assist you with your process, make sure that nothing's being overlooked, but make sure that when you're choosing an app, you choose the app that best fits your needs, your wants, and that you're sticking with it. Tell your parents. Maybe don't surprise your parents with all of a sudden one day you've gone from paper and the next day you've gone to a digital app. Maybe ease them up to it a little bit. I'm sure you might have parents right away that go, this is great, sign me up right now, but just help them with their own onboarding and getting them excited. So making sure that, parents have obviously on board and their guardians are ready to help out, as well as give them all that notice that you need. So, and that can be, hey, we are going to be changing our system up a little bit. Maybe you make a notice, and of course, make it fun. You don't have to make it, boring or anything, but we also have a sample parent flyer that we have for our families that join HiMama, so that this way they can help their parents get onboarded, give them more information about what it is, what we do, and to make sure that we're meeting your needs in this case too. So we want to make sure to help you give parents all that notice. That's super important. A really key one here. Understand your devices. So this is a huge piece. Please don't rush out. Just pick up any old little device that you have. Now, I will say that HiMama works really well on your laptop, your cell phone, a tablet, whether that be a Samsung tablet, an iPad. To be honest, folks, I only know a couple of tablets off the top of my head, but whatever it is, couple of things. You want to make sure that your staff know how to use them. So this will turn around and getting your staff on board, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But make sure that, you have a good solid solution. You don't want to potentially be spending money every year to replace a tablet of some kind. So I personally recommend going for that medium tablet or iPad. You don't have to go top of the line, but making sure that you have something that's obviously accessible to all your staff too, and that they're comfy with it. I think that's a huge piece. And so if they're not super comfy with tech, I highly recommend just taking some time to sit down with them, especially in that learning phase. We all have learning curves. Take some time to sit down with them, or partnering them up with someone who's a little bit more techie, whether that be another teacher, even if it's your cook, maybe not during lunchtime, but somebody who's there to just give them that little bit of support if they're having trouble with their tech. Another key one, no matter what app you decide to go with, you need to make sure your Wi-Fi is good and it's strong. So whether that means you invest in a better modem, whether you want to get a Wi-Fi repeater or router throughout your center. I know within the center I worked at, we had hotspots within some of our further away rooms. And of course, this potentially could happen at your center, and places where it dipped. So we always had a couple of dark spots that we had to be aware of, but we got some Wi-Fi routers set up so this way the Wi-Fi was a little stronger in those dark places. Even might be good to invest and take some time to chat with somebody who's the person, your Wi-Fi provider, whoever it may be. They might be able to give you a little bit more intel. Get your staff trained. So I had mentioned this before, but this is a hugely important piece. You don't want to just hand it over, wish them the best of luck. I'm sure you're not that kind of person. But set the expectations, so teachers know what's expected of them, what they can expect as well, and give them some time to learn. So I know one of the great things we like to do at HiMama is do a launch party, helps bring everybody on the same page, gets everyone excited. And this way too, if you do have staff who are potentially, not as familiar with the tech you've chosen to go with, allow for that learning curve, allow for a little bit more time of learning on their end. I know, I'm a huge advocate for learning, but make sure that they're able to have that time to do so and get comfortable with it. It will take a little bit, but for the most part, because change doesn't happen overnight. For the most part, it becomes your regular routine. Stick with it. I think consistency is a pretty big key here. It allows for parents to know what's going to happen for those teachers. They're allowed to stay on track. There's not flip-flopping around, as it were. But there will be bumps. No matter what you do, no matter what you go with, there's going to be bumps along the way. There's always going to be learning. Stick with it. Consistency is key in so many areas, especially in early education. So I want you to make sure to just keep going with it. After those bumps and the honeymoon phase and all of that, you will have figured out how to do everything you like. Last but not least, before we jump in with Amanda, feedback is huge. So obviously, like I said, stick with it, keep consistent, monitor the feedback that's coming in. And I would say proactively ask your parents and staff for feedback. Whether you make a list somewhere, whether you maybe provide a survey feedback form, whatever it is, and then set the expectation on how that feedback will be incorporated. Whether that is, you're taking feedback and you say to parents, we'd like your feedback, we will be putting out an action plan at this time. And same with staff, you can say we will be putting some sort of action plan in time, or we're going to follow up with you on, you've given us 2 or 3 things that are pieces of feedback, and we want to make sure that we prioritize the one that is the most important, or find an answer or a solution if something's going very wrong. So I recommend feedback. And it's a learning piece for yourself. I love getting feedback myself and hearing, okay, I did this right. This part is where you need some improvement. So then I know where I need to work. And that's super important. Hope everyone's doing great. I just want to take a little check in on the chat. We've had lots of people who've joined the HiMama family. Kai is doing great here in the chat, but I want to make sure to give Amanda enough time here to chat with us and tell her story. So Amanda, I want to bring you on. If you haven't met Amanda in the past, so director and owner of Pockets Full of Posies, you're ECE turned administrator. You're an administrator at heart. Let's be real here. And of course, you have a very different program. You know, it's RIE regio based. You know, and you have a big family there at your center. Health and safety is top priority, of course, for you guys. But maybe tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about Pockets Full of Posies for the new people here in the group.
I would be happy to. Hello. Well, yeah, we're based in Portland, Oregon. We're a small center, and we've, you know, we're based around child development with positive guidance philosophy, and natural elements and low tech have always been a really big part of our program. And so I think that might be one of the reasons that I'm here, because it was a hard sell for me. And and if it weren't for COVID, it could be a very different world. We could still be spending all that. The number about the money was wild, but we could be spending, you know, all that money on paper. We are still. Oh, that's nice, Colleen. That's nice to hear. We're still, you know, we still use paper. For instance, and I know that this is an international webinar, but for Oregon, for instance, we need to keep paper records for our sign-in, even though we're also using sign-in on HiMama. It's because our rules currently classify any licensed facility is called emergency child care. And so we have a number of lots of extra rules, very important, that are going to keep us all safe, require a little bit of extra work. But, you know, one of those rules is that families can't come in the center right now. And so there was a huge need to fill, to ensure that we have that connection. And so I felt really lucky to find HiMama to help us with that. But anyway, about our center, small center, we have 5 classrooms. We have children from infancy up through kindergarten. In this case, this year, we do have some kindergartners with us that did not move on to kindergarten physically, but normally it would be 6 weeks through 5 years. Just a little primer about us.
I would say 5 classes is still not small. Amanda, I'd say you're average, right? Like,
yeah, probably average.
Anyways, let's talk a little bit more. Obviously, you had said this before. You were highly opposed to tech in the classroom. To, you know, you were paper based. You didn't, you know, screens was a no. Maybe tell us your story about how that changed for you and what really got you to make the change.
Absolutely, and it's important for me to clarify that the kids don't see screens. It's the challenge because right now, for instance, my tours are all virtual. So, you know, a couple times a day, maybe recently, or sometimes at least a couple times a week, I would walk around the center, keeping a minimum of.
Amanda, we might have lost you there for a sec. We can see you speaking, but I can't hear you suddenly. Uh-oh. I can't hear you now. Odd. Maybe turn your mic off and then turn it back on. See if you come back in for us. Okay. We may have to do a pause.
How about now?
Gotcha.
Great. Maybe I won't talk so fast and probably overloaded my speaker. Well, so we're still a low tech center, so the kids don't see screens, but we definitely have to employ tech a lot more on the parent child end of things. So years ago when I took over, I had been told about another communication app provider that was very popular in Portland at the time. by some parents saying, this would be a really great idea for you to do. And I got some feedback from some other local childcare providers and operators. And a lot of it was so negative, saying, and this particular app, it was a different app entirely, gave notifications at all times. So when you entered in an infant's nap starting, the family would get a notification and a bottle, etc. So if a teacher is busy inside being present and working with the kids, feeds the bottle, and then writes the bottle down 15 minutes later, these operators were saying that the parents were getting worried or frustrated that they didn't get this information at real time. And so that was one concern for me, that it would add more.
Amanda, you faded out once again. Uh-oh, she might have froze. I know we said that in the past. When we were talking with Amanda, she has some up and down connection issues. So I'm hoping she can rejoin with us here.
How about now? Am I okay right now?
You're great now. Sorry
Okay.
about that.
I took my headphones out.
Okay.
So basically, yes, we were, onset of COVID, it became a recommendation in the state of Oregon that that if you're able, that you employ some way to increase communication. And that's when I started reaching out, and when I found HiMama. And one of the points of HiMama that really resonated with me is that parents get this snapshot, but they are not necessarily, we're allowed to share the information on our terms regarding the timeline. So we can say all of the information will be available at the end of the day, or we can often say, hey, here's a real-time notification of this amazing photo of your toddler wearing my sunglasses, which is a photo I got the other day of my toddler. And I was so glad to get it. There were some other reasons why, I was worried about increasing the number of tech devices in each classroom, just because, sometimes it can be difficult to not use your phone recreationally. But really that comes down to professionalism, and all of my teachers are professionals. And also, when you're so busy engaging with the kiddos, trying to observe and document and report on the logs, you really don't have time to check your Instagram anyhow until your lunch break, when you can check as much Instagram as you need.
So true. It's so true. So maybe, Amanda, dive in. You obviously went with HiMama. Maybe tell us why you picked HiMama. I'm sure maybe your teachers had some, I don't know if they had say in it or not, but maybe any feedback you took from them too.
Well, I got some feedback from my management team at the time, but they were mostly, saying whatever you think is best. Because I'll tell you what, at the time, and I remember this clearly, I was so busy. I was trying to organize like daily or weekly emails where I would, on my own, send out photos of the kids in the classroom, because we just reopened and parents couldn't come in, and it was just a new world for us, and we were trying to increase this connection, and it was so much work. And I was, suddenly operating an emergency child care center where we had been closed for 2 months and reopened, and figuring out all of the challenges of exclusionary symptoms, and all the extra rules, and cleaning every single toy in the center every day. And so the one thing that stood out to me was that the team, that like the onboarding team, was so graceful and understanding of my frantic state. And I try, I've worked in childcare for, like almost 2 decades. But before that, I was in the food service industry, and I always try to be really polite to any person that is doing their job. And I think that there could possibly be days when I scheduled a 6 a.m. call because I'm Pacific time, and that was the only time I was going to be able to get it in. And I was exhausted and just, okay, what do you need from me? Like, and they were so wonderful, and understanding, and just trying to help me to, acclimate.
Amanda, we lost you again there. I feel like we might have a timer on for you. Your internet, I guess, I know it goes in and out, but maybe just do your same deal and we will get you right back. Also, I will pass on that fantastic feedback to the support onboarding team. I know they're probably in the background laughing right now. I'm like, yeah, it's all good. Oh.
Well, but regarding, teacher feedback, really, there were some teachers that were doubtful at the time. And I recently sent out a little form for people to fill out to say, like, what were your thoughts at first? Have they changed? What do you like about HiMama? Is there anything that's challenging? And almost unilaterally, teachers are saying, like, I was doubtful. I thought it was going to be really time consuming. And as we got used to doing it, it turns out to be a little easier to do. For instance, we often do our daily logs at nap time, and it's a little easier to do that on a lit device than it is on paper in the dark. In retrospect, that was a really challenging thing we did at nap time when the classroom was dark, writing on these little papers. But yes.
It speaks to why many educators probably have glasses. I won't lie. I remember that so vividly. Absolutely. We always used to crack one window just enough so you got light to write, but not like the child who was closest to the window. Amanda, would you go back and maybe tell us about the transition itself? I know you'd said your teachers were a little hesitant at the beginning, but maybe any of their feedback now about would they go back?
Absolutely. And I think that this is potentially important because in the different classrooms, we have applied how we use HiMama in different ways. So for instance, in our infant room, we do the whole shebang. We're writing down bottles and naps and diapers and notes about the day. And we try to get a few pictures in there, at a minimum of one picture, because really it's a busy day. There's a lot being logged. But we had to fine tune the specific things we wanted to focus on in each classroom. So what we did is there's some really wonderful materials for training that were provided by HiMama. I kind of maybe made a little bit more work for myself in the beginning because I went and I edited those materials to specifically apply to our classrooms. And then we made initial plans in each classroom. So for instance, in our preschool classroom, we're not logging, all of the snacks and pot and such, and instead are logging like general appetite. And if there's anything funny going on with potty, because we're potty trained up there, anything unusual happening, that will get communicated. But in that class, we're really focusing on trying to create a snapshot of what our day looks like, and that can be different for each day. So our goal is to get a few group pictures because of activities that we're all doing together in that classroom, because that way all of those kids can be logged at that one time, and then make sure that we're getting individual, we're communicating individual progress and development as well with our kiddos in the class. So it was kind of an ongoing project at first to figure out how to acclimate. We did similar to your launch party. We had a big, staff meeting, a virtual staff meeting where we went through the materials and talked about the goals for each classroom. And then we continued to fine tune how we wanted to apply it specifically. And now it's just a part of our orientation material. There's this really handy webinar that was made available. So the teacher watches this half-hour webinar, they can fully learn how to use everything in HiMama And then we say, okay, but this is actually what we apply. But now you know how to do everything else in case we ever want to add, this, or we need to add an incident note, or if we need to, if we want to write about, anything in particular. If we want to communicate about like illness that we're, symptoms that we're seeing, and make sure that that's getting directed right to the parents, or supplies. Everybody knows how to use those things. But so, now it's just a part of the orientation packet that everybody goes through when they onboard into our center. At that time, it was just adding in new training, but it wasn't completely alien to us, because we had just recently, in the last few months, completely retrained how to do so many things in the center because of our early child ECC, our emergency childcare rules that the state had given us. And then, of course, they update those about every 3 months. So then we have another one of these big meetings, and we say, okay, these are the new rules. How are these things going? Anything else, anything else happening? One thing I think is really wonderful on my end, and I might be skipping a beat a little bit here, but I can view all of the notes in all of the classrooms. And so if I see, like, hey, if I can, say, hey, wow, your notes are looking really comprehensive and wonderful. Or I can say, hey, the opposite. Like, is there any way that we can try to, what's a time of day that we can try to just grab a picture of, and then it'll help us have like a better snapshot. And that's the terminology that we use, because it makes so much sense. Like, we're just trying to help the parents to be able to see what's happening so they can feel connected. Because that's what we're trying to prevent from being lost, with the fact that they can't come in. And those were kind of some of the core parts of our program. Parents would come in, drop off, but they would say hello and say, and check in and tell us how the morning was going, and then say goodbye. And then, at pickup, they might stick around for, 5 or 20 minutes and chat about their child. And that's lost. They can't just come into the classroom and say hello to their child and the other children. And that was a connection that was so important, because those children, say it's a parent of a wobbler age kid, our 1-year-old class, those kids might be together all the way up into kindergarten. They might even go to kindergarten together, because we attract a lot of neighborhood families, families that like are walking distance from our school. And so there are like 5 elementary schools that the kids go to, and usually about half of them go to the closest one. And so it's really common for kids to start in the infant room, stay with us through kindergarten, and then go to kindergarten together. And over the years, we have families that have, really strong connections that have lasted, until graduation. I got this last summer, I got a picture of a group of kids that graduated school, of course, during this terrible year. But I mean, it makes me feel really old. But
I was
also,
gonna say, and they were all at your center?
They were all together.
Oh my goodness!
Wobbler class, my very first wobbler class, because I was a wobbler teacher at the time. And so those, the fact that those bonds can start so young, and the families get to know each other, and then they stay connected, is something we like to nurture at our school. We find it's really powerful for the kids and for the families, taking with them as they leave. And so that was something we didn't want to lose. And that's what we're trying to keep with HiMama. Of course, families can't get together right now. They can't go have play dates with the friends that, the kids are talking about, but they get to see these pictures of the kids together, and the kids, the older kids, they probably look at the pictures with their families and talk about the things. And it might not be exactly the same. Those connections going forward might not be exactly the same, but we're still trying to keep those connections. And that's been a very nice tool.
Amanda, this has been amazing. And I'd have to say, so going back to your staff for just a second, the going about it and the way that you guys capture that snapshot, I like how you refer to it. I like how you guys have put your own terms on things. I think that's super valuable for obviously yourself, and your teachers, as well as your parents, and to tie into that, you were saying, like, I'm sure if mom and dad at home or whoever it may be at home, and they're looking over what happened that day, and then their toddler or their older child is looking back on those pictures with them, it will spark some great conversation, as well as the, I don't know what I did at school today moment. I'm sure for all parents, but it's a great piece to be able to have that. And in a time when it's so, it's so different compared to where we were the year ago, although we're coming up on that almost year point for a lot of folks, but it's a great piece to have. Maybe to tie into what you were saying, tell us a little bit more. Centers, a lot of centers have pivoted. A lot of centers have gone digital already and especially because of COVID. But maybe tell us how a little bit more around because I know you've said a few things about what you use to keep connected with your families next to those snapshots.
In addition to HiMama?
With HiMama, and maybe in addition, if you guys are doing something fun, I'd love to hear it.
Well, HiMama is kind of the end all be all at the moment in this time of transition. I'd say we definitely really utilize the direct message option is really so handy. So for instance, infant room, we are following those infants' individual routines. We are, we in order to proceed with their day, we need to know when they last ate and had their last diaper and when they last woke. But we also have to have these quick distance drop-offs where the parent can't come in and.
Oh, Amanda, we lost you there for a sec. I'm trying to catch it a little quicker, folks. My mute is slow. I'm the slow one, let's be real, but.
There. Is the internet okay still? We want to make sure that the interaction is also short so that the infant isn't reminded, too long that they're going to have to say goodbye to mom and dad. We just welcome them in, say goodbye. And so parents use the direct message option to send us a message. I think that HiMama has created something similar to this. We just haven't looked into it yet. We're so far set in our ways, but but I know that there's a drop-off feature now that I need to check out. But for the time being, what we have been using is they just send us a direct message and they tell us when the last food, diaper, and when the last time they woke. And then that oftentimes that can start as a starting off point. So if we have a question, we just reply back to that email. I was actually, on my phone, I get all these notifications when there are messages happening in the classroom. And so I just saw one, that was the parent responding back and saying, oh, did she settle down after drop? And the teacher said, oh yes, she had a bottle and fell right asleep, and now she's her normal chatty self. And that's wonderful because they're able to maintain a correspondence throughout the day. And also I can be a part of it. And so I know, I'm at home today I'm at my home office so I can meet with you without being in the preschool bathroom chatting. And for other reasons, I'm at home for other reasons. And I have the ability to peek in and know everyone's okay and that they're supported. And I can answer messages and I can interact and I know what the numbers are in the classrooms and exactly who is where. And it's, I don't mean to be a helicopter program operator, but it is really nice to know that everyone's okay. But I think that I veered off the question.
Hey, that's okay. And you're not. It's so nice as I feel like directors sometimes, especially if you are a little bit bogged down in what the paperwork that's happening on a general day to day, you kind of you have to make time to get into those classrooms. And I know especially now with COVID, it may not be something that's as easy, obviously, but having that little check-in of how is life going on? Well, that was a great picture. Just those things, I'm sure just brings especially if you're home today, like you said, just you smile, everything's going well and you don't really have to worry about it. You have that little backup in your pocket of everything went well. I don't need to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow. And you're not walking into a mess in the morning knowing absolutely nothing that happened yesterday. Yeah. So we have another great question here I wanted to get up to before we move on, but any advice for those who are, still a little apprehensive from moving from paper to digital, any maybe key takeaways that you had that you'd like to share with us, Amanda?
Well, I think I wrote some notes that any advice that I have with your apprehension, really, I think it's sitting down. My apprehension was fundamental about our program. Like, does this fit to add this tech element into a low tech program? And at the time, back in 2019, I was feeling like it didn't fit for me. But now I can't even imagine what it'd be like to not have HiMama, like to not have the resources available. Also, one thing I didn't know about when I made the switch, when I committed and signed the contract and all of that, I didn't know about these webinars and the podcast and the blog and all of these terrific teacher resources that we've absolutely been using. I had no idea. And then I just found them and I was like, oh, what? Like, I've used these as a resource. There are so many, I participate pretty often because why not? And, but then there's so many really great resources to pass on to my staff that I've, forwarded like webinars and assigned them for professional development, of this really relevant material. I think that this is a piece that is so important to a lot of people that, if it's applicable across the board, I know that they accept them in Oregon, and that's wonderful. But I think it's about realizing the time that you're putting into all of that communication work. And how do I say this? This has taken a lot off of my plate. Really, like realizing how much it can take, because it is a little bit of work getting in and acclimating and training and getting it to be a part of your program. But then once that has taken place, it's just made life so much easier that it was absolutely worth the plunge. Also, really, I can't say enough about these webinars, and I have to say that I felt, and I don't know if I said this already, I felt a little apprehension coming on today after the last 2 weeks of amazing content. Oh my gosh, the social skills one, so good. Every teacher at my school has watched that webinar. It's so good. It was wonderful. But yeah, really, like, my closing words would be like, if you're trying to find a way to increase communication between classrooms and parents and increase that feeling of connection, and also, kind of be able to just peek into any classroom virtually without having to physically do so. It's a really great tool. That's all.
Amanda, I'm so, first of all, about the webinars, thank you. And you shouldn't have been apprehensive whatsoever, because you've been fantastic. You've gotten a lot of love over the chat, just so you know. People are commenting about how amazing you are. So don't feel bad. And hopefully we will continue to provide those webinars for you, and hopefully continue to provide the content you guys are looking for. We strive for that. That's our goal. So hopefully more to come, especially like our social skills one, and last week having Jane Ann on and just talking a little bit more about what's relevant to the space, right? So those are key. And folks, I've seen Amanda on the chat during a webinar, just so you know. A couple of cute questions before we go. I've had some great ones come through. A couple have made me laugh a little bit, but a little bit about your center. And I know that a couple of people have already been asking about the certificate. Kaya has posted it, and there is the link in the chat there. If you don't see it, maybe scroll back a little bit. If you can't get it today, it will be made available tomorrow in the show notes. But tell us a little bit, the devices that you guys use at your center. Is it different per class? Do you guys do cell phones, tablets? What are the types of devices you guys use?
we actually use our classroom cell phones. So we have classroom phones that we had pre-COVID. And then some teachers use their own phones because they don't like the cameras on my classroom cell phones.
Those picky
But
teachers.
of course they have access to the Wi-Fi so that they, don't have to use their own data up. I have been toying with moving moving towards some tablets, but we were able to just make the adjustment with our existing phones. It's funny because when I first got those cell phones for contact, I tried to get flip phones and they were like, we don't have those. I said, we don't need smartphones in our classroom. These are just to call our parents. And that's how anti-tech I was. But it turned out to be a good, mistake. We already had the tech to use it. But yeah, I considered, I think that we're probably going to move towards, if it seems like it's something that the teachers would feel more supported by having.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And first of all, what were you thinking with the flip phone? I remember being in high school where you're doing the T9, like what? No. Anyways, I love it. One last question here for you. Maybe tell us a little bit. I know you said you've been getting some feedback from your teachers, but maybe what's been their experience and would they go back to using paper? Like if you had to say teachers go back, would they cry at you and say, let's continue using HiMama? What would be maybe their reaction in a general consensus?
Well, I've got some specifics here. One teacher said that they had used HiMama previously, so it wasn't a big change. And she still, enjoys them over the paper reports and really appreciates being able to add the developmental notes. But there's something with her specific phone. She had a comment saying she wanted to troubleshoot with me about her specific phone. When she pulls up the developmental tags, sometimes it only gives her like 3 words. So we have to figure that out, but you don't have to because that's not your job, Kia. Sorry. And then, one comment saying like, really appreciate the webinars and HiMama has been working out really well. And it's, they're, like the structural parts of HiMama and how we're able to communicate the info is so helpful. The negative constructive commentary is usually just like tech related. Like sometimes it won't upload my picture and I have to try again. But that's not a unilateral. I think that's people looking for something to say. Someone saying I was really apprehensive and thought it was going to take a lot of time, and I found that it's really not. And I appreciate being able to put up picture collages because sometimes you have more than one perfect photo you just want to share. And you just want to share them all, and you can. Yeah.
Amanda, it's been such a pleasure having you on once again. I'm so happy that we had you on to hear. I know when we last had you on, we touched on some of your experience with this, but you were the perfect fit for everything today. Is there any, words of wisdom you want to leave the audience with today?
I think I've really said it. Like, it's just, I suppose I should probably say that you guys are not paying me to advertise for you because this is all in my own free will. It's just been a really helpful way for us to acclimate to this crazy time, and I know that there are different centers experiencing this in different ways across the board. You have different, I'm sure that there are places that their rules haven't been changed at all, and places that their rules have been changed dramatically more than ours. But for the changes that we'd experienced, the separation, we have pods of groups and they don't interact with other classroom pods, and we don't invite the parents in, and they don't really get to, we have some big nice windows that people can poke their head in and see a couple of our classrooms, but there are a couple classrooms that parents they don't get to see their kid. That's upstairs. The kids just walk away and say goodbye, and that's it for the whole day. So to have this ability to share and for it to be so easy. Because as I said, when I tried to acclimate at first, I tried to send an email once a week. That was a pain. It was so much work. I'd put too many pictures in the email and it wouldn't send. And it was not worth it. But you know, if you're trying to find this connection, I'd say that this is worth it.
Amanda, thank you. I'm also going to tell the entire HiMama family just everything you just said. So just so you know, I'm going to pass it on. Thank you so much for being here, sharing all of your amazing, feedback about how you use us and how your parents and teachers are working towards having that great connection. And just so you know, the chat's going off with how much they've enjoyed you. So let's be real, they come to hear you today, so don't fret there. Thank you for being here today. And from everyone at HiMama, thank you for joining us. And of course, if you ever have any issues, you know where to find the support team too. So let's jump into wrap up. Folks, Kaya has posted the certificate in the chat. She's going to post it again here for you. You just have to, it's a link, folks. You just have to click on it, download it as a PDF, and then open it in PDF. You'll be able to pop in your name and your center name as well. This way you'll have it for your records. If you don't get it today, do not worry. It will also be as a link in the show notes tomorrow. And I also will have it in the blog post of the show notes from today. So please don't fret about not getting it right now if you cannot. It will be made available very much out there for you to receive. So you're welcome, everybody. You're most welcome. Next up, folks, next week. Hello, Wanda. I just saw you in the chat. Next week, everyone, I'm super excited. We're going to be continue on from the fabulous webinars we've been having today. We are going to be talking to Jill Frank. She's coming in from Wholesome Habits, Health and Fitness Coaching. I'm super excited. She's got some great content for you coming, talking about self-regulation, not just in the children, but in parents and in educators. So please don't miss next week. Register. It'll be up tomorrow. Okay, so don't fret there, but it will be out there. I'm super excited. Once again, everything we talked about here today will be in the show notes, including the recording. All right, folks. Next up, if you have not joined our Facebook group, please do accept the rules to be a part of our group. It's just 3 questions, okay, folks? We just want to make sure that it's a safe community, that you are obviously in a place to share, that you don't feel like there's anything wrong, but please join Circle Time. We have tons and tons of amazing people on there. And sharing ideas, feedback, they're all like-minded, like everyone here today. So please, I'd love to have you join us and be a part of our Facebook group if you aren't already. And if you are, thank you. Follow us on Facebook as well. We also are on Instagram. I don't know, Kaya, if you maybe want to jump in, if I'm missing anything. We have links to Amanda's webinar. She was with us last time, COVID-19 survival tips for ECE leaders, sorry. And as well, Kaya puts up our big podcast, our preschool podcast with Ron. She works with him and gets that all set and out. So if you're looking for a great listen, we have tons of people who are on there. Kaya, is there anything I'm missing?
I think you covered it all. You're doing a great job, and I've been loving the community and all the amazing stories that our customers have been sharing with us. So if you want to join the HiMama family, or if you just want to see what it looks like and looks like in your center, like definitely check us out. We're more than happy to take you on a free tour. No pressure, no commitment. If you just want to see what it looks like, we'll pop the link in the chat again for you to check us out.
Very true. I highly recommend, folks. It's great to just talk with someone, talk through how it would meet your needs and make sure that it does. So I highly recommend chatting with the team on our end. From everyone here at HiMama, and thank you again, Amanda, for joining us today. Please stay healthy, stay happy, stay safe until next Thursday, or if you're joining us next Thursday and next Tuesday will be our Alberta-based webinar, folks. So if you are from Alberta, I'm talking to you. Please join us. We're going to be talking about Bill 39. So please be there. Last but not least, see you next Thursday, 2 p.m. Hope everyone has a great weekend and stay safe. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye.